Welcome to today's Deep Dive Explainer. Look, today we're making a massive pivot. We're transitioning from being just passionate space fans to cold, calculated investors ahead of what seriously might be the most historic financial event of our lifetimes, the SpaceX IPO. I'm absolutely pumped to guide you through this because, well, we're looking at a company that is fundamentally changing humanity's relationship with the cosmos while simultaneously asking for an absolutely astronomical price tag.
Let's quickly run through today's roadmap. We're going to cover from bankruptcy to trillions, the 4 pillars of SpaceX, the retail investor opportunity, the reality check, meaning those IPO risks, and finally, exactly how you can invest in SpaceX.
Section 1. From bankruptcy to trillions, the hero's journey of SpaceX.
We really have to start with a stark look at how Elon Musk's ultimate gamble went from a near-death experience to a total financial juggernaut. The stakes back then, they literally couldn't have been higher. Picture this, it's September 28, 2008. Musk had already poured his entire $100 million PayPal fortune into building rockets, an idea pretty much the whole world thought was total madness. After 3 failed launches, they had exactly 1 rocket left. Just 1. If it failed, bankruptcy, total game over. But as we know, it succeeded. Now, fast forward 18 years to June 2026, and that exact same company is gearing up for an unprecedented mega-IPO on the NASDAQ under the ticker SPCX. Wild, right?
And they aren't playing small. SpaceX is targeting a mind-bending valuation of $1.75 trillion. Yeah, that is trillion with a T. If they pull this off, they're going to instantly become the 4th most valuable public company in the world on day 1, right up there, breathing down the necks of tech giants like Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft.
To hit that insane valuation, they are aiming to raise a staggering $75 billion in cash in a single sweep. Just to give you some context on how massive that actually is, the previous record for the world's largest IPO was Saudi Aramco back in 2019. And they raised $29.4 billion. So SpaceX is planning to raise essentially 2.5 times the biggest IPO in history.
To put those numbers into an even clearer perspective, this single private company's targeted valuation of $1.75 trillion is roughly equal to half of India's entire gross domestic product, half of a $3.8 trillion economy. And that $75 billion they want to raise, that's basically equivalent to India's entire annual defense budget. I mean, the scale of this is just truly staggering.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the 4 pillars of SpaceX, building an inescapable space monopoly.
So the million, or I guess trillion-dollar question is what actually justifies this price tag? It's not just about building cool rockets anymore. This empire is built on 4 massive interconnected pillars. They're rocket and launch business, Starlink, Starshield, and SpaceX AI. Together, these shift SpaceX from a simple launch provider to an inescapable global infrastructure company. Let's break down where the real value actually lies.
First up, the launch business. SpaceX currently holds a crushing 85% share of the U.S. launch market. That means out of every 10 commercial launches, SpaceX is doing 8 or 9 of them. In the finance world, we call that an ultimate monopoly. When you hold that much market share, you have total pricing power, simply because your customers have literally nowhere else to go.
Now, when we break down their actual cash cows, Starlink is the absolute biggest revenue driver. We're talking $11.5 billion in 2025 just from beaming internet from over 10,000 satellites to more than 10 million users globally. Then you've got their core launch business sitting at $4.1 billion. But what's incredibly fascinating is Starshield, projected at $3.2 billion. That's their military satellite division working directly with the Pentagon and the U.S. Space Force. And let me tell you, government contracts are brilliant because they guarantee payments completely isolated from economic recessions or market crashes.
And then there's the newest wildcard, SpaceX AI. This segment emerged after a massive merger in February 2026. It powers the Grok X platform and is backed by the colossal, pun absolutely intended, Colossus supercomputer. This isn't just your average tech setup. It's powered by an astonishing 555,000 GPUs. This is literally positioning Elon Musk for absolute long-term dominance in future computing infrastructure.
Which brings us to Section 3, the retail investor opportunity, a seat at the trillion-dollar table.
With this monopolistic empire fully built, why is this specific IPO rolling out the red carpet for everyday people? Well, in a totally unprecedented move, 30% of the total IPO allocation is being reserved specifically for retail investors. Usually, massive institutional whales swallow up all the shares in a mega-IPO, and the everyday person is just locked out entirely. But Musk knows his biggest cheerleaders are the everyday fans on YouTube, X, and Reddit. He is actively inviting us to the party.
And what's in it for the founder? Well, if this IPO hits its target valuation, Elon Musk's 42% equity stake will catapult his personal net worth to an unbelievable $735 billion in a single day. Let that sink in. That level of single-day wealth creation is something human history has quite literally never seen before.
But here's where we need to pivot. Section 4, the reality check. IPO risks, thinking like a ruthless investor.
Okay, it's time to take off our fan goggles and ruthlessly evaluate the severe financial risks here. To truly understand the hype versus the reality, we've got to talk about the price-to-sales ratio. This metric simply compares a company's total valuation to its yearly revenue. Imagine a local kirana store, a neighborhood shop, making 10 lakhs a year in revenue. Now imagine the owner is demanding 10 crores to sell it to you. That's 100 times its revenue. You'd walk away laughing, right?
Well, the valuation risk here is basically that exact scenario. SpaceX is generating $18.7 billion in revenue, but asking for a $1.75 trillion valuation. That creates a price-to-sales ratio of 93x. Compare that to a proven wealth creator like Amazon, which historically trades at a super healthy 3 to 5 times its sales. Bottom line, Elon Musk is selling you an incredibly expensive asset.
And when we peek beneath the hood, there are some real operational cracks. Starlink's average revenue per user actually dropped 18% between 2023 and 2025 because they had to slash prices to expand internationally. And that amazing AI segment, right now, it's a giant money pit. It's burning through $2.5 billion every single quarter. It posted a $6.4 billion operating loss last year alone, and frankly, there is zero clear timeline on when it will actually turn a profit.
Historical context is super vital here too. If we look at past massive mega-IPOs like Saudi Aramco, NTT Docomo, or Alibaba, only Visa actually went on to consistently create real, stable wealth for retail investors post-listing. Saudi Aramco, for instance, still trading below its initial listing price. A massive IPO simply does not guarantee a great investment.
All right, Section 5, How to Invest in SpaceX, Actionable Steps for the Global Market. Despite those severe risks, if you've done your rigorous analysis and you are ready to jump in, here's how international investors can actually take action. Since this listing is in the US, you can't just buy it on your local domestic exchange. You'll need to use regulated apps that give you access to US markets post-listing. But interestingly, platforms like CoinDCX are actually offering SpaceX tokenized futures right now via local liquidity providers. So if you've done your homework, you can go long if you think the price will surge, or go short if you believe that $1.75 trillion valuation is going to crash.
Before you hit buy or sell, you really need to understand the difference in mindset here. A fan blindly trusts the vision. They're like, hey, Elon's doing it, so it's guaranteed to be amazing. But an investor ruthlessly calculates the entry price, scrutinizes that 93x multiple, and questions the actual potential for future financial upside.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a crucial thought to chew on before putting your hard-earned money on the line. The 2026 SpaceX IPO is a reality. The hype is massive, no doubt, but the risks are very, very real. The historic SpaceX IPO is here. Will you invest like a fan or like an analyst?